always make a video when a war starts. I've seen a few of the videos that are around. Noticed that a lot of the photographs are old and are of the last time this all happened, only like 3 years since. Seen a lot of the same footage again as I saw a few years ago. And it's like, I saw some footage that old, it's like, shit, this is from the PLO days. It's just the right location. So you've got it as to where now everyone's got excited and the forces of chaos have all emerged and they're all reaching for the Bibles and the Qurans. The only thing I'm particularly alarmed about, and the only thing I'm really going to talk about, is the Iron Dome. The Israeli air defense system. Now, I've not checked the numbers, but when that thing was unveiled and shown to be extremely effective against incoming rocket barrages, me being me made an observation about it. And that was, well, there must be a magic number that overloads it. And then Iron Dome becomes Iron Tomb. And there was a massive, wasn't there, combined arms attack on all parts of Israel that tested the system thoroughly and could have been seen to be the best weapons demonstration in real time ever staged. The Iron Dome was indeed very effective at shooting down rockets, missiles, even artillery shells. But it's like, I read today, I've read different figures, I've read between 4,000 and 6,000 rockets have been fired. And it'd be, oh, is that enough? Is that enough for them to expand all their ammunition? Because the missiles that the Israelis use for this system, they're not the cheapest things. It's like if it just gets to a straight up spending war, the missiles and rockets that are going to be fired by Hamas, they do well to fire a lot of cheap. You see, this thing's been going on in Ukraine recently where the Ukrainians over the area of the Black Sea have worked out that they can overwhelm Russian defences, good, like world-class point air defences, with just large numbers. You send 25 things through, 23 of them get shot down, but the 2 that got through, kaboom. It's an expensive way of doing it, but then they've refined it. And then it's a matter of a load of cheap disposable drones fired in, all shot down. Right, and now your defensive capacity is diminished. Now the real killer drones can have a shot. So it's like cannon fodder, chaff of cheaper weapons being used to trigger these automated, very, very effective air defense measures. Now, I pointed to this back then when it happened. I'm like, wouldn't there just be, I'm not saying that my strategy was used by by Hamas. That would be a ridiculous notion. It's be a matter of, it's common sense, isn't it? As a learning experience from the last battle they had with their technological foe, high technological foe. If they didn't learn that lesson, they've got no business being in war, and war is their business to a degree, and war is the business of Israel as well. I can't picture a world where someone's been able to accumulate that number of weapons and then manage to fire them all at once without being rumbled and the alert button being hit. It's like, we don't know a timeline yet, but it's like the actions on the ground from what is available. I didn't want to really go into what's going on because there's not enough information, but it sure as hell appears like they've just unleashed a load of thugs and murderers. Some proper rebels, you know, a guy who's a killer and a murderer who's a prison dog and suddenly gets himself a job You see, with rebel armies, that's always who you've got to choose from. Oh, I can be a hero. My whole life I've been a pariah and seen as criminal underworld scum. And now I've joined the army of Allah. I'm allowed to enjoy it. So it's like every criminal arsehole in the region's been put to work. It's like there's videos of some of the girls that they've kidnapped, and it's like, if my eyes aren't deceiving me, it could be safe to say that she might have been raped 20 times. It's like that's bad. That to be for that to be what's hitting the internet, to say, hey, look, we've won a victory here. It's like, you're the good guys. Very bad situation. You see, it encourages other kids to start playing. I can hear their engines in the distance in the town, people driving way too fast. I live like a quarter of a mile from the nearest main road. It's a fair distance away. It takes me 5 minutes to walk down there, but when something's moving along it quickly, I can hear it. Car. Someone's driving it a little bit too fast, and if they're driving a little bit too fast in the other direction, getting on for half a mile away, you can get some speed up on that road if you're an idiot, and I can hear them buzzing all over the place. It's like, I'm guessing they'll be flying Palestinian flags out of the cars around here, like they've done in the past for ISIS. Just showing everybody who's in charge, you know. I don't like it when it kicks off like that, because all the bloody people in the world who slice it down to good and bad, and, well, Israelis are racist, aren't they? Those people who can slice it up like that and choose a side. You'd be like, no, please don't make it about your cause. Please don't get involved. Please don't whip up a frenzy, because that's part of the idea of this. Every time something like this goes on, it's in the hope of, we'll start a revolution. Unleash the forces of chaos. We'll bring about the end of the world. There's always that fanciful association behind it. There's always that call to rebellion behind it. And we live in a world where that kind of message will register at the moment, because so many people are so disenchanted, pissed off, enslaved, trapped. So it's always a big problem when it kicks off in Israel. I mean, Jesus Christ, around here to say, you know, if I was made to pick a side in this, bearing in mind the forces at play, I'm always going to side with Israel. Why? And I could sit here and tell you for 5 hours why. And I could also make the case for the Palestinian cause well as well, and weigh the two together and say, you know, this is terrible, because it's like, this is just a cunt fight and a shit show, and mistakes on all sides, and then a matter of conflating what goes on the ground with what goes on in the aisles of power. It's not what the war is. It's not what the struggle is. The struggle fundamentally is those people who turn up from work and it's like, where's my house? Where are my kids? That's what it's about. That's the real cost of it. People being used as a bargaining chip. It's like, you've got to deal with us. Why? Because we rule or control a few million people. And in essence, they're all our hostages. You can make a really damning case from all sides. It's a shit show. It's a major catastrophe that's been one catastrophe after another, and there's no way of going back in time and changing the lines on the map, because there's such things in the world as private property. It's like, what do you want to do? And you know, for a time I was confident, because I follow this. I follow this, where this bullshit war, when the Bibles start coming out and the Qurans start coming out. where they give themselves they fire up a tribal allegiance or collectivism between the Muslims of the world and those who believe in peace. And then at the same time, the lefties who know nothing of this will start to point to apartheid state Israel. Just not true. It's just not true. That you can spend a minute and go and find out that that ain't true. But you'll see people who'll just apply the fantasy that they apply to Western society to Israel society. So suddenly it's a white supremacist police state that hates black people. And why do they do that? Oh, they just do. They're just racist. And if you can turn that situation into that, and that be sort of the opinion held by those who make decisions, you one day might see it when, and it could be this time, where Israel takes an absolute buffeting because its neighbours decide, hey, while you're on the ground, let's stick the boot in here. When suddenly, Hezbollah decide to get themselves involved, ostensibly in essence, well, a private army might decide to join in. Although that's a different kettle of fish, isn't it, attacking the Golan Heights? Maybe there's no need to do that anymore. What kind of weapons have they got these days? How well equipped have they become? So, opportunity might be there as to where the Iranians can just drive an army. Just drive through Syria and join in the fun. We don't know. But this is always the dream in the minds of those who plan the attack. If we can be seen to have made some momentum, we can say to all the locals who'd like to pile in and get some of the glory, come on guys, pile in. It's always been the plan. That would be always the foreseen. Studying it, the end you could foresee is that, and it'd be a matter of, why didn't anyone save them? Why didn't anyone put the foot down and say, hey, look, this ends or we kick your ass for you? How's that? This is getting silly now. We're talking about you get yourself into Tel Aviv, you're going to exterminate those people. We know you are. Who've you fucking sent in there? Fanatics. They'll go in there and they'll commit crimes that the blood will never, it'll never wash out. And it'll be like, who stopped them? Oh, none of us did. Why? Because we decided that the Israelis were racist and racists deserved to die. Got what was coming to them. I've been reading it today where people who supposedly would call themselves right-minded say, it's just revenge. What are you about? It's right. It's like that girl who got pulled out of the boot of that car and then stuffed in passenger seat. Well, they made room for her in the car and so she could come out of the boot because they were, carting her around, passing her around. What did she do to deserve that? The two don't jive. It's fucking evil that you just unleash maniacs on members of the general public, and it'd be a matter of you'll be made to pay for that in a real way, in a feasible way. It's like the guys in that video are likely already dead. So this is bad stuff. This is bad blood. This is all the bad blood in the world manifests because that's what they'll make it. You'll hear people make pronouncements of biblical proportions all the time. All the arseholes in the world who are Muslims, most of them, all right, but they believe in superstitious things like magic. And that's a problem.